Right.
Bring us in whenever, Captain.
Aye, aye.
Ahoy, Sensho.
Hello, and welcome to the YASEcast. I'm going to be your host today. I'm MasterWho. I'm taking over duties for hosting today. Joined with me is a wonderful cast of Yase members. Let me introduce to you Morgan.
Hi.
Velius.
Hi.
And Toops.
Hey.
So we're going to have on the board today a lovely discussion that I'm excited to get into. But before we get into that, we're just going to do the usual round of check-ins. So I'm just going to start around what my eyeballs see and go clockwise around the group here. Let's start with Morgan to my immediate right. We're going to put you on the spot right away. So Morgan, how you doing? What you been up to?
Putting me right on the spot, huh? So yeah. I actually just got done streaming I guess the first full game in the Emily is Away series, which is a visual novel based around the experience of being on AOL in 2000, circa like 5 in high school, kind of at that transition space between like MySpace to Facebook, which was, for someone of my age, like that was a pivotal moment in kind of the way that I existed on the internet. And it plays out with you having these chats with this girl, Emily, and she is the worst, actually. I don't think I would have understood that really. It was, if I was trying to really play it as myself in high school, I wouldn't have really keyed into some things. So it's definitely one of those games that has made me realize how terrible like people could be at that age in particular. Because, for example, she breaks up with her boyfriend and she wants to come visit you, but you go to different schools now, but you've been friends since high school. And you tell her you have plans to go hang out with this girl you actually like. And she's like, oh, but I need somebody right now. So she invites herself and then guilts you if you don't go out with her, or even if you do, because apparently you're fucked no matter what. And I was like, you know what? Fine. I'm going to be a good friend. You can come here. Don't bring any alcohol. We're just going to be chill and like hang out around campus. But like, it seems like you need some time to get away. And then she comes back a year later and she's like, why didn't you make a move on me? We could have been together. I don't know why you invited me. I'm like, no, you invited yourself.
The logs show. We have the law.
We had receipts. There were receipts. Receipts were shown. And not only that, she ruined my chance to get with the other girl that I liked, because the other girl was like, I felt uncomfortable that your friend was visiting for that long. And I'm like, Emily. So then I started playing Emily is Away 2, which I'm working on now, which is same basic premise, but now the thing is that you can shift between instead of having only one chat conversation, you have multiple conversations going on. So you can be like saying one thing to one person, but a different thing to another. And it's very stressful and really approximating the experience of having multiple aim windows open.
I love that. I love the multi level chatting that you can do in the sequel.
It's too much.
That makes it so much more dynamic. It is a lot, but so was AIM. You were bombarded with people, and
that's exactly why it's too real.
Yeah,
it's too.
And
close.
if you don't respond to the one person in time, it's like, oh my god, what are they going to think of me if I don't respond in time?
There's a timer. In some of the chat options, if you don't respond quickly enough, you get a bad response.
It's so stressful, but so is real life. I think it replicated that experience of chatting on IAM, and throwing it right back at you. Like, wow, that was an era that we actually lived through. And yeah, everybody when they were kind of teens and in high school and early college, yeah, you're kind of pieces of shit. Looking back, I think you probably had the friend that treated yourself like that, manipulative, and it was really interesting because it's not something I've thought about in so long.
Mm-hmm. No, there were definitely moments coming from Emily being very manipulative and honestly, almost an abusive person in that game, where I realized, I think there are conversations looking back on high school. I've probably been Emily. And that's a sobering thing to sit with in that retrospection of oh yeah, I've been a piece of shit before. Probably been a piece of shit now too, but it's been, it's a very interesting game. I don't think I was expecting it to hit quite as hard as it did. and I just finished literally about an hour ago, so it hasn't fully marinated yet. But definitely, I recommend there, especially the first one. I think it's a free-to-play game. It's up on Steam, and it took me about an hour to go through. So it's a quick read.
I didn't know it's free to play. That pretty much sells me there.
Yeah, the first
one. That's a good way
to
sell me on something. Is, hey, it's free. Just click download. Just do it. Yeah, I think like it's something that really connects with your older or younger self, I guess you should say. Just something about like that dying for attention. And now that it's tying in like the sequel, not to spoil anything about the sequel, but it looks like it's like bringing in social media now into the mix, which is just all like, pay attention to me, look at me. I'm dying for this attention, shower me with attention. It's some really interesting topics that are brought up. It's cool. They made a whole version of like a mock landing page for new, like, so in the sequel, which MasterWho was watching me stream up until now, they actually built out a fake layout page of Newgrounds of that era, and Facebook of that era, and YouTube of that era, and characters will link you things, and it's like, oh, check out this song, and it's like a Census Failed song from 2006 from Let It Enfold You, and it's laid out on like it was on old YouTube, which is just like like chef's kisses touch to put on that game. That hit me the hardest out of everything. Old YouTube actually hit me the hardest. Seeing the old layout, just like, I kind of got emotional to just being like, oh my god, this was so much of my life. I don't know if I was listening to Census Failed. It was more so just watching YouTube poops. But either that or Team Fortress 2 videos in like 240p. But so much of old YouTube just connected with me in that way. But what an interesting touch to bring in your real browser, because that opened up in Chrome, right? Like, yeah, it was a tab in my real browser. What the hell? That's so cool. I was caught game. Way off guard. And if you're listening to the cast, which I'm assuming you are, if you got to minute, 6 or 7 by this point, you're listening, you can watch the VODs on Ricky Hirsch on Twitch if you're interested in the YouTube game as well. But there you go, booyah! The cool YouTuber Twitch. Who is definitely not me. All right, Toops, what you been up to?
I've been doing 360, so I played the beta, and I guess we're all going to give our feelings about that later. I have been reading a physical book for the first time in probably about 15 years. And when I say physical, I mean like not on Kindle, not audiobook. A physical book I had to hold. And if we have time, I'd like to talk about all the challenges that came up reading a physical book. I have to know. That I completely forgot about. And I also watched Army of the Dead last night in theater. My first theater movie since I got vaccinated was a Zach Snyder film. And I'm trying to figure out if Zach Snyder is woke or not. Or if he's woke on accident or something. And I might get into that if we have time. And
I want to hear everything. Yes. Bring it on. This sounds interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Break down this book. So when the hell are you reading, first of all?
So the book is called House of Leaves. It has one of my favorite premises in general. Like they do this in Doctor Who. They do this in a lot of fantasy where it's a building or a room, and when you go inside, it's bigger on the inside. They do it a lot, but anytime I see it, I'm just like, snap my fingers, I'm in. So this guy, he moves into a new house, he does measurements of his house and realizes that it's bigger on the inside by 1/4 of an inch. And then after he spends days trying to figure it out, he notices that a hallway appears in his living room out of nowhere. And when he goes into it, it goes down to a huge maze with no lights, just hallways and doors. And the thing about this is, like, found footage horror movies?
Yes.
Love them.
It's like that, but a book. And it's probably the only way you could do a found footage horror in book form. So the way they do it is that the story is actually a guy living in Los Angeles. He finds his neighbor suddenly dies, and he left behind this case of notes where he was working on this like huge book called the Navidson Record. And the book is about, it's like, it would be like a textbook about a documentary. And the documentary is the guy just described exploring this maze in his house. But like there's footnotes where they use like, they mix fake and real footnotes. Like sometimes they'll talk about a real book about like the Minotaur mythos from ancient Greek. And sometimes they'll use fake quotes from Steven Spielberg talking about this documentary. And then sometimes the guy who found the case will put in notes talking about his personal life, where the actual reading and putting these notes together into readable form is driving him insane.
Whoa.
So those are all like found footage. The whole thing, about half the time with found footage, there's usually like a bounding narrative where someone's watching the footage that you're watching, and they cut back to them, and it's like affected them mentally. And like that's happening in his book. So those are all things that I love, and I'm kind of impressed how they do it in book form in this book. And the reason I'm reading it physically is because I think I read about like 2 or 3 books per year. I'm not a huge reader, but when I do read, I'll buy it on Kindle so I can read it on my cell phone, or I'll buy it on audiobook so I can just listen to it while I'm driving. And the way this is written, so there's these footnotes, but the other thing is that sometimes they will rearrange the text in certain ways. Like some pages, there'll only be words on the very bottom and the rest of the page will be blank. Sometimes there's like text and then there's a box with a footnote on the top, but basically it's just rearranging the words so it makes you feel how the people exploring the maze would feel. Right?
Interesting. Okay.
And there's no way you could make that work on a cell phone screen. There's no way, because sometimes there'll be a footnote where you're not actually supposed to read it. It's just supposed to take up a bunch of space on the page, so the things you're supposed to read are like scrunched up to the top or the center. So like, again, you're going into this maze of hallways and you're feeling paranoid and you're feeling claustrophobic, and then the words start like getting scrunched into like the center of the page or the top or the bottom. And there's no way you could do that in an audiobook, because there's one part where to take up more space on the pages, they just start listing different room types or features or furnishes that you can find in a house. And of course, after you get like to the 10th thing, you're like, all right, I'm not supposed to read this footnote. It's just taking up space. How do you put that in an audiobook? Where like the guy just all of a sudden spends 15 minutes listing every possible furnishing you can find in a house, right? So I had to buy this book. I had to go to the store and buy this book. And I'm realizing the challenges of reading a physical book are, one, my apartment is not as well lit as I thought.
Okay.
Just because I'm so used to reading everything on a bright lit screen. So I had to get like these weird, I could only read it in my bedroom, which has like an overhead light that's really bright. And then I couldn't hold it up because it's a heavy book and that felt uncomfortable. So I had to sit on my bed and hunch over the book. And the other thing
you're like stomach down, like kicking your feet up.
Yeah, I'm like in positions that I haven't been in since I was in school, reading actual physical books like I used to when I was in like high school before Kindle came around. And the other thing is, you forget how light a cell phone is and how having a bright screen means you can read it in any position you want. With like a normal book, unless you have that worm light that they used to sell in the 90s, remember those?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Like, you
clip
have
it to the thing and like, yeah.
You have to be in a very specific position to get the light you need to read the book. So that's all been a very interesting experience. I definitely suggest anybody who likes found footage horror would read this book. It's called House of Leaves. by Mark Z. Danielewski.
Yeah. There you go. That sounds so interesting, though. I love media, like entertainment media that plays with its medium that it's presenting through. And I think, without going into any kind of spoilers, Nier is like that. If anybody's played Nier through and through, beat every ending, Nier plays around with the medium that it's presented through and can only achieve its storytelling through a video game media. Sounds like the same in a book. It's so rare to see any author do that with a physical book, a book-ass book with pages. That's so interesting. So then you went to the movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw Army of the Dead by Zach Snyder. I think
welcome to our Snydercast.
Yeah. I think last time I was here, I reviewed the Snyder Cut. So now, this is something I used to do before the pandemic. Like, I have no qualms of seeing a movie that looks like I'm mildly interested in and going to the theater by myself to see it. So I was like, this is definitely the movie I want to see when I come back to the theater. Not something important, not something like poignant. I just want to see something where there's a bunch of shooting and it's a zombie movie. And so I'm here to say it was pretty good.
Okay.
I feel like this is the kind of movie Zack Snyder is made to make. The other thing is, I don't know if you ever seen any trailers on it. They kind of take the things you see in zombie video games and they use it to their advantage. So there's like different types of zombies, just like in Left 4 Dead or pretty much every Resident Evil 4 or any zombie movie you see, where there's shamblers that don't think, but then there's alphas that do think.
What about the Sigmas? The Sigmas who are equal to the Alpha.
Yeah, there's Sigma zombies. The other thing is there's like a hierarchy they have, and also every time someone died, I was like, oh, I wanted him to live, and I actually realized how often I was thinking, wow, I kind of like all these characters, because usually in these movies someone dies and you're just like, whatever, but
oh my god, there's so many. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. I sorry to cut you off.
Everybody but one character who died, I was just like, I was hoping that they would live. So I thought it was actually pretty well written for a zombie movie. And the other thing is, it kind of reminds me of whenever I happen to be watching a Fast and the Furious movie, and no one really talks about this, but those movies are like the most diverse mainstream movies in Hollywood right now. And Army of the Dead was the same way, and like the MVP is this lady who like racks up like 50 zombie kills from the beginning of the movie, and no one does it better than her. And I almost feel like, I don't know if Zack Snyder is doing that on purpose, or he's just like, well, she's there, so of course she's gonna get 30 zombies. Like, why would you not think she would get 30 zombie kills? Like, what's wrong with you? Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So I would say it had to have been a conscious choice, right? Like, they have to put pen to paper somewhere and say, this character's gonna set out to do this. This is their goal.
So. This is something I noticed also with the Snyder Cut. It gave Cyborg, who's like, he's a black character, it gave him a much bigger role, and it just felt more natural that he had more lines and more time to shine. And it actually showed how cool his powers were. And I felt like the same thing happened with this Army of the Dead. So, if you like zombie movies, I would definitely suggest this. I had a lot of fun watching it. And I guess the Zack Snyder redemption arc continues.
So how does it feel to be our official Snyder correspondent?
I guess that's my role now. I'll see you guys when he I heap all his praise, and then He's going to make the Fountainhead. I'm going to have to watch that.
I would maybe want to see Zach Snyder presents Fountainhead, actually. Like, that would actually kind of whip ass.
Yeah.
There we are. Reporting from our respondent. Oh, go for it.
Also, the main villain is like a really obvious stand-in for Ice.
Hell yeah!
We would love to see it, actually.
Yeah.
Good on you, Zach Snyder. You tell him. Thanks for sharing all that. You have some exciting stuff. I always love hearing from you. Vel, what's going on?
Not a whole lot. Spent the last week. So one of my friends has actually decided to pick up Street Fighter V. So kind of just been helping her learn that a little bit. She's switched mains like 10 times, so it's kind of difficult to keep up, but it is what it is. Other than that, just been playing a little bit of Alpha 2 here and there, a little bit of Plus R, and trying to figure out all the bike-in things.
Ooh.
Because
that's a good character pick in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like you go from Biken and Exard, who is like my former main, right? And then you take her to Plus R, and I'm like, this is a different fucking character entirely.
It's a completely different character.
Entirely, absolutely, yes.
So I was like trying to do the same, almost similar like combo routes, and none of it was the same. I was like, I don't remember anything.
Gotta learn JDFRC.
Yeah. That shit's hard, man. Like, everything about it is so difficult.
That's why I don't play Biken.
Biken's a character of love, for sure. You have to love that character, play that character. I would say in both X-Hard and Plus R, definitely a labor of love. Either way, you're in for a time.
It halfway felt like I should have adopted my more natural play style of just being an unrepentant troll and picking Zappa instead.
If you want to go right for the jugular, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Just play Zappa.
But it's the last week's been a little bit more focused on just, like casually playing whatever's coming around. That's basically it, really. Now that I think about it, just an occasional puzzle game here and there to keep your brain sharp. Some Twinkle Star sprites. You got Bust a Move, The
you've been playing Twinkle Star sprites?
A little bit,
Ooh. Ooh. You should see me sometime after the recording here. I'll play some puzzle games. I'll play some Twinkle Star sprites. I've been itching to play some more Magical Drop. I don't know if you want to play Magical Drop. That might be a problem for the old wrists, though.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. Ooh. Talk about actions per minute. That game has them. But no, that's a comfy time. Like, you're still making the rounds on fighting games, playing with friends. That's the best part of fighting games, is not picking the game and getting the best at it. It's just getting to go around the round robin, play with friends, play casually here and there, play some Alpha 2, hop on Plus R, just get a taste of everything. I've grown to enjoy just having like the wide palette across everything. So
yep, just getting crushed in everything for a little bit.
As it goes. I've been having a mild week. I just am graduating college, so I'm going to have a lot more free time on my plate where I don't have to actually come home, do homework, go to bed, go to work, come home, do homework, and the cycle continues. I can actually play games. I can do other things now. So my my time slot is wide open now. I have 1,001 games that I still need to complete. I've touched the Nier remake, and I have to beat that. I've touched the newest Resident Evil, and I have to beat that. I've touched 10 other games, and I need to beat all of them. But aside from all that, I thought this was a good time. I would go and play Dragon Quest, and I don't know why. I have this inner urge that I wanted to play a JRPG, so I picked up Dragon Quest 1. I thought it would be fun to just go through and just see what it was like, go on a little adventure. It holds up pretty well for a JRPG, it holds up pretty well. The sense of adventure that you get out of just hopping in without knowing anything, exploring around a map blindly until you run into an NPC that tells you, like, oh, there's the mage in the tower up to the north. Go see him, I guess. He might give you an orb or something. That's rad. I love that. Going down to a dungeon and just, like, crawling around and trying to see, like, I don't know what's down here. I don't know how deep this will go. I don't know if this is worth it. I don't know if it's above my level. There's something really exciting about that aspect of not knowing. And it holds up really well for that sake. I don't know if it's a game I could play over and over again, but for the first time through, I'm having a blast just playing through the original OG Dragon Quest. Not a whole lot else I've done this week other than just touch a game and drop it and touch a game and drop it and play some fighting game nights with friends here and there. I'm really enjoying playing Rose in Street Fighter V. She's fantastic. So much fun. Such a fun character. We've got a lot of people in the YASE playing Street Fighter V recently. So if you're listening to this and you're not already part of the YASE, please join. Please shoot us a message. Play with us. We're always running games and we're always running game nights and we're always open to playing anything, whether you're a Plus R player or a Street Fighter V player or whatever. Hit us up. Anyway, that's about it for my week. Not been up to too much trouble. So I guess we can roll this directly into our main juicy topic, which is Guilty Gear Strive. Everybody's been talking about it. Almost everybody played the open beta 2, that is. There's obviously changes that they've made to the game that are both controversial and welcomed. So I am really, really, really excited to get into this, because this is definitely a, I don't know the word I'm looking for, diverse game, or a controversial has a negative connotation to it, but you know what I'm picking up. It's a very talked about game. But I can't get enough of hearing people talk about it because it opens up so much ideology into game design, fighting game design, net play design, all these different topics. I guess we can start in the same order that we did check-in. Let's just go around the robin and start with Morgan, and we'll just kind of lay it up to you. You can talk about whatever you want, and anybody that wants to bounce in can bounce in, and we'll just go around the robin. So Morgan, what were your experiences with the latest open beta?
I felt oppressed and attacked. Potemkin did nothing wrong. And the nerfs that my boy experienced were unjust and unfair. And Daisuke is seeking to stop the development of Zep communism. And I'm not a fan of it. I'm sick of it. My boy's horizontal movement was reduced. Hammerfall was negative on block.
They made him dirty.
Mega Fist was punishable on hit if they were standing. Like, they made Potemkin again.
Why would they do that?
Like, that was the
set. They finally made Potemkin 2.
Yeah, I played through, I challenged the Celestial Floor twice with Potemkin, and then I realized that I was no longer playing the Joker, I was playing Potemkin again, and I'm not really a Potemkin player. Like, he's good. He's a good version of Potemkin, but I liked playing a building falling on top of somebody, not a grappler. So I switched to May in the second day of the beta, and it was fun. It was very interesting to see how much the game changed, switching between characters, and like some of the characters that I thought were kind of whack. Like I thought Anji was pretty whack fighting him as Potemkin, because a lot of stuff was busterable, and the jab was actually very powerful against him. Just pressing just very easy counterplay to a lot of his combos. It was like one of the first things I labbed was just like, all right, Anji's got this move. It's got like a pseudo guard point on it. It moves him forward. What do the layers in the counterplay look like? And then as Potemkin, I could just press 5P and beat everything. So I realized that that was not a very difficult matchup as him, but as May I had to respect a little bit more. So it was an interesting matchup. I didn't love it. I actually had kind of less fun overall. Part was like I was cackling about Potemkin before, but I think the lobbies are basically non-functional.
Agreed.
Like, in some cases, it was taking me there was one, I was streaming a lot of it, and it took me 5 minutes to get into one game because of all the disconnects and the searching for ARC codes, the disconnects, and they have the whole lobby system, which already didn't really make a lot of sense. It wasn't super intuitive. But then they added, I guess, cabinets to it to try to make it a little bit more like to split the difference between what they built for Strive and older formats like the Xrd lobbies where you have arcade cabinets and you sit down and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Except they don't work.
On paper. They don't work. That's a fix, but they don't work.
Like they
I couldn't sit down to anybody.
Yeah, like on the front end, I think tried to shift it to make it maybe more intuitive on the front end, but none of the back end makes any sense. And so like I would have situations where I'd sit down and it would start counting down, but there was nobody on the cabinet with me. And then I realized like it's a person who's like 4 cabinets down. I don't know why it's matching us. Like it doesn't make sense. And not only that, just like it really sucked to rank up. And it's like I had a good match with somebody, but maybe I beat them 2-0. Yeah. And then it's like your floor has been reassigned. You're kicking you out of this. And now you have to go to a different floor. It broke up the flow of that. Or if I beat somebody and they ranked down, they might get kicked down to another level. And now I'm left with no one to play. It was really disappointing. I thought they were going to take more feedback going in like how the lobby structure worked. But I feel like they're in a shitty situation where it seems like they fully developed that front end architecture for these lobbies because they revealed them on April Fool's of like last year. And people were like, yo, this sucks. And they were like, well, shit, we fully developed this. And it's like a big feature we've put resources into. And now they're trying to maybe make it work. But no, like they needed to scrap this. They need to delay the game and completely rework this because these things don't work. And it's very frustrating to the point where I don't care how good your netcode is. If it takes me 5 minutes to get into a game in a populated lobby with other people who I'm trying to match with, it doesn't matter if the netcode is smooth. If your backend architecture doesn't let me match with people. And that was it was frustrating. Also, I wish that the Celestial Floor wasn't an odd number of games. That was the only other thing that came to me. Because I beat the first person 2-0, I beat the second person 2-1 on one of my runs, which means that for me it's a best of 1, where it's not the same for my opponent. And I wish it worked out in sets. Like you had to win 3 sets before you lost a set, or something like that, instead of it being based on games. So we talked about in the last pod, if you get to the highest floor in ranked, you get to do the Celestial Challenge, where you have to win 5 games before you lose 2. But it left me in that kind of left me in a bitter spot, where you get ending these I got one and done. And it's the same kind of situation before where I fought someone, lost to somebody on that last game where I thought immediately like I can make the adjustment and win this set, but it doesn't matter. I got kicked out of the Celestial Floor for losing the one game. So there's just stuff in the way that it's all set up that leaves a really bad taste in my mouth. And now I don't know if I would recommend it. That's where I'm at. I think that if you right now you can buy Street Fighter V and you can like that netcode is pretty good and you can get into matches very quickly and they tend to be like at least decent. And if you're looking to just play a fighting game and you don't care about like the specifics of the franchise, or play an NRS game, pick up MK11. Like, it's hard for me to recommend this game when I'm sitting here and I'm streaming it and I love this franchise and I'm sitting there getting frustrated with the back end and the front end of their net play and thinking to myself, I'm not having fun right now.
I agree. I didn't have fun in the lobbies either. Like, it was probably the worst online experience I had trying to just match up with people on the floors. I think I sat down, I played for, I want to say an hour and a half, and I maybe got into maybe 5 games. 20 minutes of that was spent ranking up. Once you ranked up on the floor, there was moments it would just hang. You'd have to close the whole
Exactly.
game.
That happened to me every time I ranked up. It would hang. Every time. I had to close the game. If they don't fix this shit, this game releases in 30 days. If they don't fix that shit, I can't imagine how frustrated people will be. I beat a person with one game. I want to keep playing them. The game kicked me to a higher level and then froze. And I had to restart the whole thing.
I honestly feel like this is dangerously close to having done more harm than good. I think, at least with the closed beta 1 and the open beta 1, we were in a state of like, okay, the game is still in development. We can excuse a couple things here and there, and, they're listening to feedback. But now, like you said, this is now, they've already delayed it once. We're 30 days away from release. And the interactions with the main part of the game that you're going to be doing, which is just playing online with friends. You're going to be playing online with randoms and playing online with friends. That is we're going to be spending probably 95% of your time with this game. It doesn't work. It's not fun. It is hard to recommend. And I agree completely.
And that hurts me a little bit. I want to believe in this game, and I think the game itself is fun. I like the actual gameplay. It's maybe not... I respect what they're trying to do. A friend of mine and friend of the pod, Slamarion, put it pretty well that when you think about the Xrd series, it's like a remix, but not a really departure from the formula from the XX series. It's a little bit of a tweak, but like Kai in that game is Kai in a different game. Soul in that game is Soul in a different game. Milia is Milia. Zato has negative edges. All that kind of stuff. There's a lot more radical departures in this game. They really shifted around some characters' archetypes, took away moves they've had for 10 years. Faust is a very different character. Soul is
Which I would be open to. That could be good if it wasn't that they started completely from the ground up without retaining anything that made those characters creative enough. I felt like I'm still kind of stunted on creativity until you hit a certain point where you're having to use meter. Yeah. But I'll get to that when I'm talking.
I'll cut a little bit shorter. I mean, that's my main point. Game fun, May is cute, game is fun, and the architecture around their net play is whack. The other thing that does really jump at me, well, one, there was like the only real game balance issue. I know like beta game balance. I don't know why Ram and Soul are allowed to be what they are in this beta. In particular, Ram, especially coming from the last open beta. That was like very a little bit like, ooh, there's spice in that. There's real spice there. But to what you were saying, for most of the cast, I guess it was something that I heard secondhand that was on like Japanese fighting game Twitter. The game feels like you're like swimming through molasses and then you get 50 meter, and that's kind of how it feels to me. That it's like I don't have a lot of options, and then I get 50 meter, and it's like I have all the options suddenly. And I really want for a 25 meter option. There are force breaks and FRCs in XX. There's stuff like Blitz Shield, but also YRC and Xrd. Options that give you a little bit where it's not all or nothing. And it's like, I think this game really wants for something like that. Just like, because if anything, it just feels weird not having it going from like the preceding games, but it does make the game feel much more like you were saying, where I feel like I'm really fighting against the system, and then I get 50 meter, and then I get to do what I want to do, versus, the other games where it's like having 25 opens up a lot of cool options, and, that's basically me. I don't need to bellyache any more than that.
I really appreciate you breaking it down, because, I agree with so many of those points. Very good breakdown. Well, I know Toops did ask a question. Did you get the chance to try quick play, like online play, like where you go into training mode and
I did
get matched up with people?
And it worked decently well, but there were junctions where I would go long periods of time without getting a match when I'm sitting here in the open beta and thinking there's got to be people trying to match. Or same stuff you would get in lobbies where it's like it's just less noticeable that it's like fail to connect, trying to connect, failed to connect. And then I'm sitting here like, wow, I've been in training mode for 10 minutes and I haven't gotten a match. Or you get the same crap with the lobbies where I'm in training mode and then I rank up and then it kicks me into the lobby.
Yeah.
Into a different lobby.
I was going to say, it kicks you to the lobby.
And it's like, if I wanted to be in the lobby, I would be in the lobby, my guy.
Oh, let's toss it down to Toops. Toops, what was your experience? I want to hear all about your time.
Remember Blue's Clues where he would say, "Blues could do, we can too," and then jump into the picture. I want to jump into Guilty Gear Strive and marry Eno. Okay,
That's not where I thought that was going to go, but I commend the dedication.
Last time I complained all about Chip. I did not play Chip 1 second, 1 frame in this beta, and I had fun. Eno is missing a lot of her stuff too, but I don't miss it because I never played her in the other games. But she has Oki, and it's kind of the same Oki. It's kind of the same Oki loop she had before, where she would hit you with buttons, trip you, and then her hat would vomit a note on you, and you would just go high-low. And I had fun doing that. Leo players are still the way they are. I'm kind of amazed that Leo players just have a hive mind where if you start learning the mashup, they just get like a signal from the Leo Queen, like in Aliens, saying, abort, 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 get out of here, get out of here. We cannot let him know. We cannot let him know. Like, the side switch thing, you can throw it, and if you get bodied the first few times by a Leo player and then you start throwing his cross up, they will leave every single time.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, the lobbies are still terrible. They're terrible in ways where they don't solve any problems that I have with other lobby systems, but they create brand new ones that I've never seen before in any online fighting game. And I've been playing online fighting games since I was playing Third Strike online, like right a week before Street Fighter 4 came out. And I've never had a thing where I win a bunch of games in a row and then they say, like, you can't play this person anymore. Bye-bye. And I feel like DJ Khaled on the cover of Suffering from Success. I don't like the air dashes at all. People have tried to like convince you that it's kind of the same as the old ones, where you start out slow but then you go faster. But I think we're going to be playing Strive, and then another air dash game is going to come out that has normal air dashes, and we're going to feel like Goku taking off the weights when he was about to fight Raditz. I feel like everybody's going to be like, wow, this feels so good to air dash like normal again when, I don't know, BB Tag 2 or whatever comes out. I hope that's not a permanent thing. When I first saw that new air dash, I was like, I hate this. I hate where things are going. I want to go all around the screen. I want to be a spaz. Chip Z'Nuff does cocaine. I want to play like a character that does cocaine. I don't want to play like a character that does lean. But yeah, I think I had a lot more fun playing the actual game because I didn't have to deal with Chip getting nerfed or getting not buffed, because I still don't know what he's supposed to do. So I just played Eno, who has like a real Oki loop, and I made a lot of people mad. I got teabagged by another Leo player, and I did the vindictive thing where after you teabag me, I'll beat you one time and then just leave and make you have to hold that L on your chest for the rest of your life.
Yes! Yes! I love that.
Yeah. I hope they change the air dashes. I don't think they will. I hope they I hope they buff all the other characters to like soul level. I think Ito is actually a top tier character. I don't know why she has a super command grab. She has ultimate atomic buster in this game, and
ways to easily get into it too. Once you have 100 meter, oh my god, you are going to land a command grab super.
It's crazy.
It's disgusting.
The hardest part of landing Eno's command grab is that I'm just bad at doing half circle forward. That's the hardest part of landing that command grab. It's actually really brain dead because most of the time people will see you air dashing at them and they'll just stand still trying to block. And then you just land, and then you do the command grab, and then Dirty Diana by Michael Jackson starts playing. Yeah. Eno gets a 10 out of 10. Strive Lobbies gets a 1 out of 10. Gameplay gets a 7 out of 10, I think. That's my review.
Okay.
Respectable.
That's a fair review.
It's interesting to me that we're both on that perspective of, like, I like the game, but it's so hard to play it that it makes me not like the whole package.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the amount of times that I said out loud in my big boy voice, why can't I just play the game? Let me play.
Let me in.
Let me play. Let me play.
If you ever play like Call of Duty Warzone or League of Legends, there's always just a big ass play button. There's no, like, can you imagine Warzone where if you get like a 5-kill win streak, and then you get booted from the game. Like,
sorry, you have too many kills. We're sending you to a different game.
Yeah.
You get to go challenge the Celestial map now.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, it doesn't make any quality of life sense. There's so many polishing things they still need to do, and there's no way they'll finish all these quality of life polishes in time. It's got me worried. Again, I'm gonna cut myself short because I could go off on a whole tangent here, and I'll save my breath for my turn.
I do want to say more.
Yeah.
So I think, and this has been a problem with all fighting game online lobbies, where fighting game quality of life things, it's always a grab bag of what you're going to get and what you're not going to get. So if one day a game comes out and that game has either frame data or like Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, in the first version, they had a way to communicate whether a move is safe, plus or minus, without the numbers. They actually just say, if you press a button and they block it, if you have this option on, your character will be green if it's plus, yellow if it's even, red if it's punishable. And that was by Arxis, and then they release this game, and so far it doesn't seem like they have that option again. It just seems that there are quality of life or features where they'll add it sometimes and then they'll take it away, or they'll have lobby features where they'll add it and then they'll take it away instead of improving on it. And I feel
true.
Other genres, if someone comes in, when I played Halo, there was a thing where at the beginning they say, look up, and whatever you press, your mouse is inverted or not. You have inverted look if you pull down to look up. You have normal look if you pushed up to look up. And there are a bunch of SPSs that just do that ever since that came out. Because they saw that Halo did it and thought like, oh, that's a good idea, let's just do that. Fighting games aren't like that. They don't look at Skullgirls, which is one of the few games where if you have an 8-person lobby, 4 games can happen at once. They're still coming out with fighting games where you go to a lobby and you have to wait on a line.
Yeah, looking at you, Street Fighter 5.
Yeah.
That makes it tough. Ugh.
Soul Calibur 6, you have to wait in line. The best you get in Arxis games is that you have like 4 calves. But it kind of makes me realize how much nicer it is. Because what usually happens with line is that one guy is winning all the matches, and if they're a Leo player, because I'm going back to Leo player hate here, usually they'll be dominating because they're playing Leo, which is like a scrub killer character, and if I beat them one time, they'll leave. This has been a struggle I've been having for years because I always feel like my Leo experience is incomplete because the Leo hive mind causes them to leave if I start winning. And it drives me insane. But yeah.
It's also weird how...
This is a call out to all you... Oh.
It's really weird how King of Fighters 14 has a lobby system where you can have multiple matches take place. And multiple game types. Like, you can even have like a almost King of the Hill style thing. Or you can just have casuals in the same... It's too bad the netcode sucks, but it's an idea that, you know... this is what like the lobby system should be like for... literally any fighting game. Just put in all the fucking modes. Yeah. Just have all the friends hang out in the same lobby. Who gives a shit?
Yeah. There's no... And it just... If you've ever played, like, I think Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite had it too, and just a bunch of others, it makes it so much more fun to play in lobby matches, because if you lose, you're just going to play somebody else. It's not that big of a deal. But if you lose in a lobby match where there's like 5 people, now I don't get to play for another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you want to watch, you can watch. But you don't have to.
Yeah. Every game should be like that. Every fighting game should let me join a lobby and just hang out and let me play every time someone's available to play. But it's like I said, it's a grab bag. So maybe the Dungeon Fighter's going to have that, but they're not going to have... I don't know. They're not going to have
like, I don't know. Yeah, it's always a hit or miss for all of these problems that have been solved for years. These are solved issues. The answer is right there. Same thing with rollback netcode. I guess you could argue that. It's a solved problem. There's no other solution to this than just do this. Just take it from the game that does this already. The solution is right there. You just got to take it and pluck it and steal it. And it's like, hey, this is now in my game. It is questionable why they would plan a whole brand new game from the ground up and not have this past the whiteboard at one point and say, hey, how are we going to design our lobbies? You know, let's look at what everybody else is doing. Let's design it based on like the best aspects of everything. It's like, no, we're just going to do our own thing. We're boneheaded. We're just going to make it our unique experience. And then it kind of falls on its face because it's not taking any lessons learned from everybody else that stumbled before them. You're just going to stumble again and make new problems and new issues. And we're still waiting on the day that every one game's got to do it right eventually. You're going to have the rollback netcode. You're going to have the rematches. You're going to have okay lobbies. You're going to have a ranked mode. You're going to have a celestial floor that works. One of these games is going to have to do it one of these days.
And that game is not going to have 2-player rematch offline. Remember Street Fighter V didn't have that? And I think Tekken 7 still does it? Or did they add that?
I don't know. I can't speak to that. I've only been playing Tekken 7 online. Oh boy. Vel, let's hear your side of the story. What's up, Vel?
So I'll keep mine kind of short because most of what I think has already been said, but I actually... In the first beta, it got me to actually consider that the lunacy that was that beta would actually be something fun. It would have been hard to recommend, but it was fun. This beta had me flip-flop entirely. Because the lobbies are still shit. We already talked about that extensively now. But one of the things I absolutely hated was how they nerfed backdash movement. So now it basically just goes nowhere. And this, maybe I don't get the right to speak because I'm a dirty RAM player, but I don't like the movement at all of this game. Air dashes still feel like shit, and now backdashes also feel like shit. And there was actually something that I found interesting, or that I thought was interesting. The fact that Ram is a now powerful character is both weird, but the thing is that she's powerful, but for me anyway, it was not fun to play as her. Not related to her power level, but most of the powerful shit that seems to be coming out is due to the fact that this game feels so much more limited than previous Guilty Gear games. And I don't like that feeling of constriction when it comes to fighting games. I don't like having, there's only one real route that I can go. I don't like that feeling at all. So it's I got what I wanted in a way, and that, I wanted Ram to be strong in Exerd. Now she's strong, but playing this game still feels like shit. So that was very frustrating to go through, on top of all the other quality of life changes. When this game was nuts, it was fun. Seeing Pot just absolutely destroy everyone was hilarious, and I loved it. And then they removed that part and left me with nothing, really. Ram is still basically the same character she was in the first beta, outside of a couple very minor nerfs and obviously the universal changes to movement. But there was nothing to redeem it. There was just nothing. The game just does not appeal to me, and I can't say I hated my time playing. I definitely played way worse fighting games, but honestly,
it's just there's just not enough there to keep going. What are you striving for in a way? If you want to put it that way.
Finger guns. But it was whenever I played the beta, one of the first things I did after I played the beta was go back to Exerd. Because doing fucking combo trials and that and labbing that is just more fun to play than this. And I don't think it speaks very highly of Strive if it immediately makes me want to revisit the older version, because those changes just don't appeal to me. Like, it's not a bad game, but I personally don't have anything to recommend to people about it. So that's something that this beta has just shown me. There's other things coming out that look more interesting to me. I'm not someone who goes out and has the ability to spend all the money on all the games coming out, you know. So whenever you have to, you know, pick your literal battles, I'm going to go ahead and not pick this one. And
that's an okay choice to make. I mean, $60 is a big investment. $70, I guess, maybe if you're picking the PS5 version.
Oh, also
it might be $70.
The DLC too. Don't forget that.
Yeah,
exactly. Same thing with Grand Blue. If you were to get a blank Grand Blue right now, today, and pick up everything,
it's over $100.
All the characters, all the season. Yes, easily.
No, it's and that game never goes on sale.
No, never.
No. It's such a big barrier of entry, and Guilty Gear might be going down that path as well, where you're dropping the $60, you're dropping the 15 or 20 for the season pass of characters that I don't think they've announced yet, but you're probably going to want to get them if you're going to be taking the game seriously. It's a huge barrier of entry, and for a game that you've been apprehensive 2 times now with both the first beta and now the second beta. Now you're really like, they could have done something to make you feel like this is something that you want to continuously play. They could have easily given Ram faster stuff, faster movement, faster air dashes, a different movement tool, something. But they're really reassuring, like, you're going to play a strong character that stays put, and you get to push some buttons, and there you go. That's the character you get to play. You're going to be a tank.
And like Morgan said, you really don't get to play Guilty Gear until you have 50 meter.
Oh, yeah.
It's,
I
think the cost barrier is something that's really worth bringing up there as well. Like, I wonder how much of that to do with, that's going on with Grand Blue has to do with side games, more so than Arxis. But at the same time, I'm kind of looking at this and thinking kind of the same boat. Like, this is like a solid amount of money, and I saw a take online that I think is going to ring true, which is like, people will buy this, but we will look back on this in like a year or two and think this was one of the worst vanilla fighting game releases of recent memory. I mean, they've shown time and time again, and you know what? My expectation with Arxis games is that the first version is bad. First version of Sign was bad. First version of XX was bad. You know, they tend to be whack. My expectation is that it's going to be whack and that it's going to get very good over revisions. But this one feels exceptionally whack. And I have all confidence that they will eventually be able to fix it. But if people want to wait till it goes on sale, if people don't want to pick it up on launch, I will never fault somebody for that. Because I think that there are some very serious problems that I think can get addressed. But you know what? And like, until those lobbies are working, I would, if someone that does not really play fighting games came up to me and said, I see this game, my favorite VTubers are playing it, should I buy Guilty Gear Strive? Should I play this game and be a cool VTuber? I would say no on both accounts.
It's tough though. Like, I think everybody in this podcast that's sitting here and broadcasting our voices, we all want this game to succeed. All 4 of us want to see this game do good, but it's indefensible for so many of its problems, for so many of these things that it's not going to get fixed in time. They're not going to polish it in time.
If you love this series, which, like you said, we all do, watch the story mode on YouTube.
I don't know anything about. The only thing I know about Guilty Gear Story is that I guess this is a theory. Millie is bald.
That's powerful.
That's the first I've heard.
So what are the beasts called? What is the thing that
the sacred beast? Yeah, that Millie's hair is a sacred beast, and that she might be that she's actually bald.
Yeah. So you have to give something up to get a sacred beast, and Zato gave up his eyes. But if you notice, Millie didn't really give up anything, and her sacred beast is her hair. So, like, my personal theory has always been, like, she gave up her hair, and then the sacred beast is her hair. and when she goes home, she just takes it off, and she fills dry dog food and feeds it. And the reason Zato and William broke up is because he found out, and he was like, "Why didn't you tell me that was an option? I gave up my eyes, and you just gave up your hair, and you got hair. You got better hair."
You didn't lose anything.
Yeah.
If anything, you upgraded. You got a nice little Lego hat you could just pop on anytime and got your due.
I would be mad because I'm bald, so that would be an upgrade for me. I would give up like the sides of the hair that grows out the sides of my head, and they get a full afro that I can kill people with. I want that.
That'd be so sick.
Yeah.
Zato's got to be the stupidest man on earth. Is he a himbo?
Yes.
Giving up his eyes? Yes. There we go.
There are nothing but himbos.
We're learning a lot about the Guilty Gear story here. I'll round up my experiences. I'm like Toops. In the previous beta, I played nothing but Zato. Zato from the start to the end, just nothing but Zato. I dropped Zato, didn't even touch him this time around. I just played Eno because I wanted to play a character that, in a game that I know your options are limited and they're holding everybody back, I wanted to play a character that I could do some dirt. I wanted to push past the barrier that the game is putting in front of me. I wanted to push past that and just do 50-50s. I want to be a dirty player. I want to feel that power in a game that is so unempowering in some circumstances. Zato let me feel like that. Zato has some dirt, and I can confirm Eno has some dirt. Eno was pretty fun. I had a great time playing that character, but in backing up what everybody else said, I didn't get to have real fun until I hit 50 meter. And albeit, I feel like the meter gain in this version was a lot faster. I got 50 meter a lot more often. And there were situations where I had 100 meter that I didn't know how I got 100 meter. I just have it now all of a sudden. That happened a lot more often now than the previous beta, which I love because that's when every character in the cast gets to do fun things. And it makes your jaw drop. And they do close slash blue Roman canceled immediate air dash. Those are the things that make my mind expand and go, oh my god, this is sick. Even if I'm the one getting hit, I'm like, oh my god, this is sick. That's so cool. I want to see more of that, but it's a rarity to get to experience that. And when you come down to it, the rest of the game surrounding it is fun, but then you see these moments of I just want to keep. The only thing that I'm striving to do are just more RC stuff. I just want to do Eno's Note RC. I want to do Chemical Love RC into Command Grab Super. I want to just do these things, and that's all I'm playing the game for, is just for these little bursts of moments where I can do a little bit of dirt, and just it's fun, but it could be more fun if you didn't have to get these little bite-sized charcuterie board pieces of fun once you get your meter, I guess. All in all, Eno's a great character. I think she's going to do great things in Strive, and I had a lot of fun. Hated the lobbies. Backing up everybody else on that. Couldn't play in the tower. I couldn't. I did my testing. I tested into floor 6 after 2 games. I was up in floor 7 and the game froze. Tested into floor 8 and the game froze. By that point, it was an hour and a half. I got through 2 floors and I played 5 to 6 matches. It was not fun. The most fun I did have was when I got to go to one of the parks and just play with a friend one-on-one. We played for 3 hours straight. Just hit rematch every single time. There's no loading on the rematch at all. No loading screen. You just hit rematch. You're immediately you're in the game. You skip through all the intro cutscenes and everything. It was like crack. You could just sit there and 3 hours just melted away. And that was genuinely fun because I didn't have to actively think about anything else outside of the game surrounding it. I didn't have to think about the lobbies. I didn't have to think about the main menus. I didn't have to think about my connection. I just got to hit rematch over and over and over and over and over. That was so much fun. And when you go into a long 3-hour set like that, you start thinking of okay, I'm limited when I hit this button, but what if I RC it here? Or what if I instead of going to this block screen, what if I walk forward or dash back and try and bait something out? You start thinking of these creative situations that even though the game is holding you back on what you'd be able to do in previous games, you're still able to kind of break it down into being creative with these restraints. You can still kind of play around with it. So for that fact, I'm still going to buy the game. I think it was fun enough where if I could just go to a park and sit one-on-one with somebody, that's all I would buy the game for, though. I don't know if I would want to sit in training mode even. I just want to play the game. Like, there's not enough training mode stuff for me to experience, for me to sit in a training mode for 2 or 3 hours and figure out everything about this character. I can figure out everything kind of on the fly, in a way, until I just hit a plateau that I have to min-max stuff. I'm not there yet. I want to buy the $60 game to just play on one-on-one with people. Is that a responsible purchase? For me, could be. At least I get the chance to like hang out with friends and play fighting games with friends. But I can't recommend that. It still has so much stinky dirt attached to it. It's got the stinky crust around everything that you have to kind of get to the nugget inside to like get to have the fun bits. So I'm still gonna buy the game. I just want to experience that where I can just sit down with a friend and hop on Discord and chat for 3 or 4 hours and grind it out. But if I could just skip to that part and experience that's all I want to do and strive. And $60 is a big price tag to attach to that one very specific instance that I experienced. But I agree with everything else. Like I don't know if I could recommend it to anybody. It's gonna be a rotten launch. You're gonna have a rather mediocre time if you don't have people to play with. Let's say you're Joe Schmo off the street and you're picking up Guilty Gear Strive for the first time. It's the biggest Guilty Gear release that you've ever seen. Everybody's gonna be buying it. It's gonna have a huge beginner base. What is there for you? What is there for Joe Schmo off the streets? You're gonna have bad connections. You're going to be tossed up and down ranking floors all the time. The ranking floors will probably die off in the first month because nobody wants to deal with this connection stuff. They're just going to find their friend and go to the parks and play matches with their friends. It's tough to recommend it for people. I think that this is going to be a rough launch. But I think in 3 years, this game's going to be great. I think we're going to look back in 3 years, and again, this launch is going to suck, but it's got room to grow because I don't think there's very much. It can't get much lower, I guess. But yeah, that's my experience. I'll buy it. I'll play it. I just hope I can find some friends to play it with.
It's a pretty solid way to think about it. I think I'm in the same boat. Like, I'll buy it, and yeah, I guess I'm in some, even as like an experienced player, I'm like, what's there really for me? Like, once I hit like VIP or whatever, what is there left? Well, so we'll see. We'll see what happens and how the game develops. I'll probably still buy it, but I'm in that same boat where I think I would struggle to recommend it to people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. The only other thing I'll add on is I'm sure everybody here has seen what Soul can do. If every character played like Soul, this game would be in a much better place.
Yeah, I think
I'm not a Soul player, so I can't speak to how he feels, but the way he looks, holy crap. He looks like the most fun character in the entire game.
He is.
Easily.
He is. I think Toops said it, and I think I really agree. I really I hope they buff other characters to be at that level. I'd rather see them lift people up and give characters more options. But, I mean, Soul is playing a different game than everyone else.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, if they could bring everybody up to that level, which is, in my head, that's when the game's going to be great. If they could get it through one revision, everybody's playing like Soul, and it feels like they figured out how Soul should be in Strive. They've got this character down to a science, but then they didn't have enough time to get everybody else to that polish. They have... And it kind of surrounds everything. Everything kind of has this, like, this is a good idea, but it's not polished. Or, like, the lobbies, it's fine, but they just didn't have enough time, and there's no way it's going to be okay at launch. But I'm hopeful for the future.
I would agree.
I think it's going to be fine. Anything else that y'all want to add? Otherwise,
not really.
I think we can wrap up this.
I think we're good to wrap here.
I think we're good to wrap. Yeah.
Tig Notaro was digitally inserted into Army of the Dead after they finished filming, so she seemed like non-Euclidean because a lot of times she was blurry. But other than that, her performance is great, and I just love Tig Notaro. She's one of those actresses where I'm just like, oh yay, she's in this when I see a movie.
Solid.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Solid. I look forward to our Snyderverse podcast that's forthcoming.
Yeah.
We're gonna go through all the hits. We're gonna watch Sucker Punch.
Oh God.
Oh no.
God.
Oh. Why would you even will that into the world?
I want to see the world burn. I don't think so. I think there's a reason you haven't seen it yet.
I'm gonna be a Snyder Cut guy. That's just my new lease on life.
You made up a guy. You made up a guy.
You made up a guy. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the YASEcast. Thank you for listening to the end. Morgan, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Morganization13.
Vel, how about you? Where can people find you?
Find me on Twitter at _Velius, at WordPress, at realbattleonfilm.wordpress.com. And then also filming a spiritual sequel to Sucker Punch called Whatever Happened to Emily Browning.
What? Is that true? What?
No, it's not true.
Okay.
She just disappeared off the face of the fucking earth after that movie.
Set to return in the theaters near you eventually. This will be willed in. Zach Snyder, if you're listening, write that one down. Toops, how about you?
Nowhere. Leave me alone.
And I'm in MasterWho. You can find me on Twitter at MasterHooligans, on Twitch at MasterHooligans, and on YouTube at Reds Play. Thank you for listening, and
Thank you.
Until next time, be nice and be nice at it.